Welcome to Lawsuits and Lessons, people. We're back. Me and my great friend John Hop Foggerholm. I'm Steve Cooper. And every week we talk about business. We talk with some great minds, with great entrepreneurs. They give us our insight. John talks a little law. John talks a lot of AI too, but we just talk and we have fun. And John, I got to tell you, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's been a great week. It went by really, really, really fast. And in fact, it feels like it's just Tuesday, but it's already Thursday. So,
I was thinking because our guest today has a tie into Philly. I remember when I met you, I told you I was from Philly, and then you found out I was from New Jersey. I explained the reason I said I was from Philly because everyone in LA could not distinguish between South Jersey and North Jersey. And then you gave me shit. And then I remember one time I got a message. You met some girls at Volcano, and they left a message saying they were from King of Prussia, and I am from New Jersey, not Philadelphia. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, where I'm from is closer to Philadelphia than King of Prussia. But Philly, though, you don't visit enough. Philly's got a lot of stuff going on this summer. They got the All Star Game. They got the World Cup, the 250th anniversary. And our guest today, who I've known for a while, who has a great PR firm, she started a new company to capitalize on that. We want to talk about that and all her entrepreneurship. And our guest is my friend Jennifer Sherlock. How you doing, Jennifer?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I want to start off. I want to hear about the new Philly event planning because it seems like you hit it right at the right point because all this stuff going on. And as I said, you live in New Jersey now too. I tried to tell John we're so close to Philly, but tell us about the new company because it's exciting. And you're with Mark Schneiderman, and it's just a great, great combination.
Absolutely. And do you know Mark?
Yes, he was on Le Coupe Tank once.
That's right. Because I was going to say he lives in West Hollywood now. I don't know if you know that. He moved. He sold his house from Voorhees and he's in right where you used to live, or maybe where John lives.
yeah, where both of us used to live, right around there.
Yeah. So he and I were friends for years, and he was my business lawyer for multiple years and also a serial entrepreneur, as Steve knows. And just one day we were talking about kind of AI and how the world's going, and we decided to actually tap into something that was authentic to ourselves and face to face, because you can't get rid of anything that's face to face in that environment. So years ago, actually, Mark grabbed that URL for me, and a few months ago, he said, "Do you still want this?" And I told him I would buy it. But then I said, "Or let's do something with it." And then he's like, "All right, let's go." So him and he has a company called Next Point Ventures and has a colleague, Bill Young, who's also a partner with him. And so we all kind of joined forces to come together to tap into the 250th anniversary and also all of the fun events coming to Philadelphia this summer. So it was kind of very random, just like any company starts. But then we really picked up steam in a short period of time with a lot of contacts reaching out to us for their activations. And there's a lot of pop-ups coming to Philadelphia for All-Star Week and the World Cup, also PGA. And there's just a lot of fun things going on. I was in Philly today at a restaurant we may do some pop-ups at, and the bars will be up until 4 a.m. So it should be a pretty wild summer.
Awesome. So your partner was a lawyer practicing law in New Jersey, and then he moved to West Hollywood for what? That's an odd move. I've never heard of that move.
So he has a daughter at UCLA and a son at Loyola Marymount, and he's always loved the West Coast. It's been his dream to live there. So him and his wife decided to pick up, sell their home here, sell everything, and they moved there in January.
Oh, well, good for them. That's quite the move. And West Hollywood's a is a great neighborhood, but it isn't quite what it used to be. Like West Hollywood used to be really top notch, and I think a lot of that West Hollywood vibe has moved to Silver Lake now. So it's not quite what it was.
Okay, yeah, I don't know Silver Lake. I know I've been to West Hollywood and it was very walkable from what I remember. So it is interesting, but he loves it. He's so glad he left. And but he said we can get this started here. We plan to do it in other cities. So that's kind of the goal. To start in Philly, prove the concept here this summer, and then from there we can bring it to LA and other cities.
So tell us specifically what it is and what concept you're proving out.
Yeah, so basically we're just tapping into every brand. I have a client that, well, I don't know if I can say yet, but it's a lot of beverage companies and like Tito's stateside. Think of all of those brands that they are always looking to sponsor things and get their name out there. So we're kind of working with those brands to help them be boots on the ground in Philadelphia, because a lot of these people coming from all over the world don't know anything about Philly. So we're kind of their their concierge for everything on like what restaurants to book, and we'll do everything for them soup to nuts. It doesn't have to be just a restaurant. It could be just a full-on event at a various venue, but they come to us for the event planning, for the booking, the catering, the DJ, the advertising, the SEO. We're kind of like soup to nuts everything, and we're working with these brands to get whatever their goal is. I mean, everyone's goal is different, but they want to tap into the crowd that's coming to Philadelphia. So that's how we're starting, and we're just going from there and seeing where it leads us. But I am getting a lot of leads from various soccer companies, just everything you can imagine, different like brands. I mean, anything is possible because they're all coming to Philadelphia. And I used to do All-Star Week at many different cities, San Diego, my gosh, I've done so many in Florida when it was in Miami. I did so many cities for a client. So it's just a great time, a fun event, and it's awesome that Philly has it. I never thought Philly would have an All-Star Week with Major League Baseball, but it's here. So I can't say too much yet on everything we're doing, but it's basically tapping into brands and just helping them be their boots on the ground in this city.
Now, okay, here's a question. I know, John, you do the real estate and the law, so you have two things going. You also have a successful PR company. So how do you find time to juggle both? Because this is, I mean, the Jenna communications has been going for a while, so you have your clients in place. But I would think that, you still have to make your clients feel good. So how do you balance the time? Because besides that, John, she's a big sports fan. She's at the Eagles games, the Phillies games, I was worried she was going to come on tonight. So she's very active. So how do you plan to balance your time? Because I know entrepreneurs have to, as we always say, people say, I want to do it to have my own time, but you don't have your own time. So how are you going to balance both? Because you have the successful PR company and this is an upstart, and it's not like there's so much going on in Philly.
I know, to be honest, I'm still trying to figure it out because like even today, I'm like, oh, this could be Jenna Communications, but then I want to give it to Philly Event Planning. So honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I'm up for anything. Like if this completely parlays into, see, the thing is, I do PR. Those guys don't do PR. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest with you. But it's like I want to put a lot into Philly Event Planning because it's kind of I've done a lot of openings, whether it's restaurants or med spas, salons. I've done so many different things. It could be, I mean, I'm trying to think of every opening I've done. I've done hospitals. I've done a lot of like real estate development malls, just different retail. I could go on and on because I've had my company so long. But it is like a blurred line that I'm trying to figure out because it's like I really, really want to focus on that. But I don't think Jenna Communications will go away because of the PR piece because I always did events and I've always done openings, but those guys don't do PR. They're gonna need me. So Jenna Communications will still be the PR arm, but I'm still figuring it out. It is going to be hard, but I'm willing to see what it takes because AI is changing everything, as you guys know, and even press releases people can do on their own. I still do them for clients and I secure the press. And not all of these people in the world can have the relationships that I have, but still, at the end of the day, I think it's going to affect it already has affected PR, so I'm kind of looking at it as, well, events can never go away. I mean, unless we're all gonna be stuck in our homes.
Right. That leads me to something that because I don't know that much about PR. Obviously, I've even represented PR companies, but it's always specific to litigation. So I don't actually know what they do, right? From my perspective, if I was going to hire a PR company, even though AI could write some press release for me, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, where does that even go? So I go to ChatGPT and I say, write this press release, and it gives me this beautiful press release. But then what? Like, you know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense to me not to use a PR company, even if I can write the press release, right?
Right. Yeah, so we would have more experience, not that you couldn't do it by yourself with your own contacts or even ask Google or ChatGPT for contacts, but the the secret that PR people have is we have relationships in place and we follow up on all of these different outlets, whether it's TV, radio, vlogs, podcasts. It's a small world because a lot of it's behind the scenes that make the action happen. So whether it's like bookers or producers, so it's our job to stay on top of the connections, have a relationship with them to make sure that the story gets booked and out there. We also have different systems. Like I use Meltwater to look up any contact and distribute press releases. But you're right. I mean, to that point, we just have more of like that special sauce to get the job done and secure, to distribute the press release. So we use different systems where we build our own lists and send out depending on what the client represents. You know, it could be anything from health, sports, fitness, nonprofits, technology, crypto, it could be anything. So it's kind of the same game, but different press lists. Nowadays, a lot of influencers too. Yeah, more and more companies, even today, they said, they're not really interested in the old school. They want the new school, which is influencers. So then we have to build influencer lists. So the difference would be that we have more of the relationships and more of the lists like vetted out on who to go after. So someone like you wouldn't have time for that. And basically everything we do is time plus relationships. And I would always say writing is key, but like I said, nowadays that's even changed because a person that can't even write that well might come up with a pretty solid release. Um, but that's what we do, and then we're the ones that follow up in the classy way, do the bookings, make sure it happens, prep the client, be there with the client. And then, like what I do, I have a company called TVIs. So after we get a client on TV, we can download the MP4 and then send it to them. It'll tell them how many people saw it, how much it's worth, which helps prove
Oh, wow.
a PR person's value.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can send you samples if you wanna see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, so every PR company should anyway be sending reports, monthly reports or right after the news happens with how many people saw it, how much it's worth, and then give them something that they could put on their website or share on social media. So, like I said, anyone could do it themselves, but they wouldn't really know how. They would kind of be confused, but it's not impossible.
It's not only the know-how either, it's the experience level. And I love AI and I'm 100% into it. That's why Steve is always saying, okay, this is a law and business show, but John keeps talking about AI, right? Because I just spend all day diving into AI and looking for tools to make my business better and send it to the other attorneys and say, hey, this is a great tool, use this. Uh, but what I realize is, you could put a chip in the back of my head that teaches me how to fly a helicopter, but I'm still not going to be better than that combat pilot that's been flying for 20 years and knows, okay, wait, the wind is like this, the whatever it is with helicopters, right?
Right.
And I think it's kind of like that with everything because I get clients all the time that say, you know, Chat GPT said this, right? And I go, yeah, technically that's right, but there's this weird little thing here with this judge, or there's this other thing here that's gonna negate this, or and then it's never 100% accurate in how it would be applied. Theoretically, yes, but how it would be applied, almost never when a client sends me something like that from ChatGPT.
Right, no, that's so true because I use it all the time as well, and I sometimes, for example, Mark Seidemann, I'll ask him different
Mhm.
things, and I think that's what will make sure lawyers like you stay in business, being able to add that personal touch and know about the different laws and rules on in wherever you live. I mean, that information is gold.
I think it's just the way it actually happens, right? And so um, I see AI affecting a lot of the young lawyers, right? The ones that are coming out and they're only using AI, right? Or they're going to be in that group of people that AI was part of it, and I'm so old that there wasn't internet in classrooms when I was in law school. We still use books, right? So so but then I was in the position to hire those people that were first coming out where they had internet access in the classroom, and I noticed like, wait, their reasoning is just completely off. Like you have to really teach them that. And I had first year attorneys that would work for me and I'd say, "Hey, research this for me." And they would send me links. And I'm like, "Look, if I wanted to read this myself, I wouldn't have hired you, right? What I want you to do is find it and figure it out and tell me what the answer is." But because they had all this technology, it was hard for them and they had to actually learn now how to reason. Like this is this because of this, this leads to this, whatever the reasoning is. And so I'm wondering what that's going to be with these AI kids that are like, oh, legal research, I don't need to really figure out what the issue is because some bot told me what the issue was, right?
I think it has to because they're only getting smarter every year with all the information we're all putting in. I mean, when I spoke at St. Joe's University not too long ago. All the kids tell me they use AI and they're all on their phones. I can't imagine them learning people skills. I'm not blaming them. It's a different world, but I mean, I always like, at least I know how to write a press release and know how to do everything manually. How are they ever going to learn? Just like to your point with law.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because they're saying that it's going to affect lawyers. That's one of the they're saying in 5 years, it's really going to affect the legal business. But I think for people that already own law businesses, it's a benefit, right? Because instead of hiring three lawyers that I may need, I'll hire one lawyer that knows how to use AI properly, that can then send whatever that product up to a lawyer that knows how to actually litigate, right? Not just, yeah, like the guy that goes to court and, does all of these things and goes to trials, and have that guy look at it and go, okay, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense, right? Because one of the big things about lawyering is what we call issue spotting, but really it's what's the question? What's the question here, right? And I think that's being lost. Like, what's the real question here?
Well, it's funny because Jen's in PR. That's also your thing is what the question is. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it correlates because you're the one who sits there and goes, who are we reaching out to? I mean, you just don't, you can have, as you said, AI, they're just going to put a press release out. But you're right. They don't know who it is, but back when the why, who, what, where, when. I mean, that's the thing for the question. The questions are very important. You guys, this is a very parallel because you're also, you have to provide something. I mean, so how do you figure out who the target market is for your client?
Oh gosh. I mean, I usually start with a competitive analysis and then if I have experience in their field, then I know exactly who to target. It's also sometimes learning by going, like if I've gotten a technology client and then they'll say, oh, or insurance client, like these trades are important in our business. And it's kind of a two-way street. And then I figure out who we can contact and what they want. But it really depends what they want. Like if they're looking for press coverage, it depends on the industry. Sometimes they're looking just for connections, like to either like activate their sales or sponsorships. It's really all over the board. So PR people are supposed to elevate your contact list and who you know. Um, but, that's in the press side. Are you saying with the actual, like, say is let me try to think of what I could use. Are you trying to say, like, if it's a wealth manager, I have a wealth manager as a client. Are you saying, like, how do I target their high net worth individuals? Because I can tell you that. Or do you mean how do I target the press?
How do you execute their strategy? Like, how would you target these people they want? You're like, John's a big spender here. So how would you sit there if you walk by you? How would you sit there and target John?
Okay. Yeah. So we do like I'm just thinking of the wealth manager, for example, but I could use it with John. We do their social media. So we look into different SEO and different keywords that target high net worth when we do post on their LinkedIn or
Mhm.
Facebook, Instagram. We also help them create
Mhm.
videos to put on their social media to help build credibility with like the hot topics that high net worth individuals are in, or if it's John in law, I would do like the hot legal topics going on in the world today. So definitely, and you can, I mean, I'm not an SEO expert. We use people for that, but you can use AI for some of those keywords to help you in the process with how to write your social media. I'm sure, John, I'll have to follow you. I'm sure you have your own social media.
It's not that great though. I'm not, I just don't like social media. So it really is arm twisting to get me to do anything on social media.
You should definitely try, even if it's like once a week, just to get in the habit and think about the different hashtags. Think about the topics you wanna explore that week, and maybe just do it over, like, we do it a two-week period at a time. And then also, like, the podcast we secure for him, which I would secure for you, are, like, top executive leader type podcasts that help put him in a level that would attract high net worth individuals. So to your point, it's kind of like talking to the client and then figuring out who they aim and then helping them with that process to get their name and brand out there. And then obviously having meetings, biweekly meetings and seeing like the calls they've gotten, the emails, the leads that they've gotten to see if it's working. And if it's not working, then we change our keywords or change the topics. For him, we talked a lot about like tax strategy, but it's not something you do in April, it's something you plan for now for next year. So it's really and are you, business law or do you kinda do a little bit of everything, John?
Yeah, so our firm is set up very, very specifically to defend businesses from California employment claims. So it's very niche, very specific, and There aren't many guys that do this, right? Because there's guys that will do anything. They'll sue you just as soon as they'll represent you. It's whoever walked into the door first, right? And then there's insurance defense, right? And that's a fairly big area. I don't like insurance defense because I don't want the insurance company to be my client. I want the business to be my client, right? So what we do is just defend businesses from employment claims, right? And so there's a couple of us, but when I started this, I was the only one in California. And now some others have, copycatted me, which is fine. I mean, there's plenty of room. It's very hard to find me sometimes, just simply because the majority of keywords and things like that is for the employee, right? So I've had to get rid of a ton of keywords just so I don't get inundated with employee calls, right? And so it's hard to find me, but it's getting better with AI actually, because now that people are asking a question versus putting in just key phrases, it's much easier to find me. So I'm finding AI to be wonderful in that sense.
Do you mean like going and finding you on Google? Is that how you mean?
Yeah, because that's other than referrals, that's the majority of my business because uh, nobody cares about me until they get sued, right? That's just it. So if I put up a billboard, everybody would be like, "Who cares? There's a guy on a billboard," right? It used to be that people put in keywords like um, employment lawyer, whatever. But then most of that is employees searching for that stuff, right? But now with AI, where people are having a conversation, I just got sued. I own a restaurant, and I just got sued by my employee for harassment. Okay, boom, that's easy, right? Go to this guy.
Or I'm curious, I think you can, right? I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that you can advertise on, say, ChatGPT so your company comes up. I'm pretty sure that's a thing now.
Yeah, I don't advertise on ChatGPT, but I just have so much content that I think the AI finds me.
For sure. Yeah. What's your law firm? What's your URL?
My law firm is Law Offices of John Fagerholm, but Defend My Biz is where we.
So, okay, I gotta bring this up. So, Jen, you're an entrepreneur. We always talk about entrepreneurs. Your background is TV, though. I want to know how you ended up becoming an entrepreneur, because your background, you were doing TV, right? You were a reporter. You were doing so. I mean, John, she was a girl on the TV, and now she's an entrepreneur. And then we can ask her when she knew she'd be an entrepreneur, because we always ask that question. But what made you change? What made you get out of TV? Because that's a pretty cush job. I know you get to go to stuff for free. I mean, what happened?
Yeah, so I went to my college essay was being the next Barbara Walters. And then at Villanova, like I had known I wanted to be communications. And by junior year, you were allowed to have internships. So my first internship was ABC in Philadelphia. And then there was a smaller station here called PHL 17. It was owned by Tribune at the time, so which was the same owner of a KTLA at one time, but I think KTLA has a different owner now. But regardless, they were like, that's the only non-unionized station in Philadelphia. You can like learn how to edit and do everything there. So I went there, but I had known what I wanted to do. And then my parents used to have a shore house. So on the way to Stone Harbor from where did I live? I don't even remember, probably Pennsylvania. I would drive, to this NBC station near Atlantic City, and I would drop off VHS tapes all the time. I was so persistent. I wouldn't go away. That the story is actually funny. I'll just make a long story short, but the general manager finally called me that summer, after graduation, so I guess I was 22, and she's like, "Come in for an interview," and I went in for an interview, and then she hired me on the spot as a reporter. So I was like, "Wow, dreams come true," you know? But no, that's funny, that's the funny part. Then she calls me, like, a few days later, and she's like, "I can't hire you, you're horrible, I just looked at your tapes." We're still friends, she was very hard career nosed woman, but I learned a lot from her, and, but she's like, "But we'll train you. So we'll start you on the assignment desk," and she was true to her word, so I started before 9/11. That was, like, my 2nd week of TV, which is crazy. I'll never forget that week, as none of us will. And then by like Thanksgiving, November, she had me out reporting. And then within 6 months, I was like a full-time morning anchor and reporter. And still it was like my dream job. And then I went to Fox in Harrisburg because I still wanted to be in Philadelphia. I would have gone anywhere, honestly, but I just was told like it's best to stay around the city you want to be in. So I went to Harrisburg. Then I came to Philly. But back then you had to pay your dues more. So Susan Schiller at CBS here made me do traffic, which I didn't want to do, but I did traffic for a little bit. And then it was like 2000, I forget exactly, 7, 8, whenever YouTube was getting hot and they started doing their own videos, there was a startup that reached out to me and I thought, and I had moved to Philadelphia at that point and I thought, oh, this would be cool. At least people can see me like around the world on YouTube. But because back then when I was in TV, it was kind of like 1 or 2 stories would go on your website. It's not like everything today. So at the time I was like, oh, this is cool. At least everyone can see my videos. I started doing that. It was called Always On. It was like a media startup company in New York. And I met this guy and the girl that was working for him went to Villanova. So they brought me in to Advana Bank Corporation. I don't know if you remember that, Steve. It was out in Spring House and Dennis Alter owned it. It was a small business credit card company. But they brought me in for an interview and I thought like, why not? And then he said, what do I want to do? And I said, events, PR, travel, business development. I said, TV. I named like everything. He's like, you can do that here. It's the innovation team. So that was very short-lived, my only corporate job. It was probably like 2008 to 2009. And but we would put on events in LA everywhere. We would put on, I remember, being on UCLA's campus. I wish I could tell you where we did the event, but we had an online site where we would give $10,000 away to the best business idea in the online community, so entrepreneurs. And then we would also have live events in various cities around the country. And it was like a Shark Tank, but it was real feedback. So we would record them so people at the bars and in the audience can ask questions, but then we would record it so people could ask their questions via chat. And I loved it. And I loved entrepreneurship from that one job. So actually, I can't say TV got me to entrepreneurship. I never thought I'd get out of TV. But when his name was Ami, who I'm still friends with, said I can kind of do everything. And by TV there, he meant like I mean, YouTube stuff. But I really loved it. And that's when I learned how to do PR. And then I was getting him on national news all of the time. And then I got sucked into entrepreneurship, just all these stories coming on this site called ideablob.com. And then our events were called Blob Live. And then I joined like Philly startup leaders and meetups. And like I got obsessed with entrepreneurship. I'm still obsessed with it. Like, and then I was really good at getting him on national news. And like they paid a PR firm at the time, like 25,000 a month, but I was the one getting him all the exposure. So, but it was 2009. They were a credit card company. They went bankrupt. So eventually we were laid off. Before I was laid off, I did have a client. It was a guy I knew from Villanova's a common theme. He sold his company to Oracle for like 180 million. And he opened a speakeasy in Philly, which is still there, called the Franklin Mortgage and Investment Company. And he's like, hey, Jen, you have an LLC. Because I created an LLC in this time. I just didn't do anything with it. And he's like, can you do our media VIP night, invite the press? And I was like, yes. And I still was employed by Advana then. But that small check, I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a lot. It might have been like 2,500. I know I saved it somewhere. But that told me like I could do this on my own. So it kind of started like that. And then I had another client. Then I was laid off. And then with a girl on my team, we started these events called Laid Off Looking for Love. Yeah. And we would have TV reporters MC these events and auction off people on dates. Like I kind of want to do it again because it was before the dating apps.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, and we pack rooms in New York, Atlantic City, Philly. But then that's like a full-time job, although I'd love to do it again, but maybe I could do it with Philly event planning. But then I just kind of got hooked into one client after another and another. And I lived in Philly 15 years and I was out like pretty much every night. And I had offices on Market Street and like bigger offices. And my last big office was in COVID before I shut down. Then I moved to New Jersey. But yeah, it was really just kind of like, I mean, I was obsessed with my business and just like working all of the time. I mean, all day, all night. But it's fun. It's a part of my personality. But I never, to your point, like I never intended to have my own company. I did have an LLC, but I would have told you I'd stay in TV, honestly. I never meant to get out of it. And then it just like kind of kept going. And then I got so used to getting everyone else on TV that I'm still used to that. Because people are like, oh, you could try, but I'm still used to booking and like making other people happy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let's explore Laid Off Looking for Love. And here's why that interests me.
Yeah.
It interests me because I have a niece that when I was her age, I was at the clubs, I was, meeting people, doing all these things. And now she's well, she does she says clubs in LA are dead, but when they do go to clubs, they don't even mingle with anyone except the ones they came with. And then she said, "Yeah, we're just kind of all sitting around chatting on our phones and looking at our phones." And I was like, "Wow, that doesn't." And she's always asking me questions about my generation because from what she's telling me, their generation looks at what we were doing going, "Wow, that was so cool. I wish we would do that," right?
Oh, great.
So there's something missing with this in-person thing, and then the other thing I think about is how popular that pop the balloon thing is, which is kinda like dating, but they pop the balloon or whatever.
Yeah.
So this actually might be something. There's probably a lot of people that are about to be laid off, right? And then a lot of people that need to date and find people because they can't figure out how to do it outside of these apps, and then I've never app dated because I'm too old for that, but what I hear is that they're never what they present themselves as, right? Whereas whereas if you walk up to someone and meet them at Whole Foods, it's there. You see what you're being introduced to versus some version of them that isn't real. So anyway, what do you think?
I agree. I met Bill Young. I didn't tell Mark about it, but I met Bill Young, who's a part of the affiliate event planning and Mark's company, Next Point Ventures. And I told him, and he seemed interested. I have to tell Mark about this, but I'd love to bring it back. The last time I did it was, I think, 2016 maybe. I tried it at Xfinity Live, which is called Stateside Live now, where our teams play. There's like a big, like, I don't know if you've been to Philly, John, but it's just like a big
Yeah.
multi-center.
John, it's just like next to where Staples is. It's the same kind of setup. It's that same. It's because there's one in LA right near Staples, exactly like Xfinity Live. So now you know.
I only remember Gayborhood because I rented it Airbnb, and then when I was looking at the map, I was like, "Huh, why does it say Gayborhood?"
And so tell us about this. Tell about 2026, 2016. You did one.
Yeah, so I got Alex Holly from Fox 29 here. She's like a great the top morning anchor. That's our best show in Philadelphia. And it was either 2016 or 17, but I brought it back, and I brought it back on Valentine's Day. It was called Lucky in Love, and I always have do it with a charity. So then I did it with Paul's, but other years I would always pick a charity and give percentage or sometimes all of the proceeds away. But it was really good. We auctioned off people. The only downfall was her grandfather died, like, the night before the event, so then she had to go to Texas and
Oh,
cancel
bummer.
it, and then when we did pick a date, sometime in March, I mean, it was good still, but not as good as I think it would have been had it been around Valentine's Day. But again, like, I love doing it, and I think we will bring it back with Philly event planning because I know so many people that are sick of the online dating and they miss face-to-face interaction. And you were saying about your niece, I have a niece who's 16 and she got all ready for her prom, helped with her hair, makeup. I mean, looked amazing. And her friends took pictures and then they were back in like less than an hour and
What?
they just go. It's not like what we did and dance. I even asked my nephews, "Are you dancing at these mixers?" No, no one dances. They're on their phones. Well, she said the same thing. The girls just take pictures or TikToks and then they go home. There's no dancing anymore. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, as a guy, you used to have to learn to dance just so you can talk to a girl.
I went to 5 proms and they all sucked. But I did but I remember that we danced because it was Babe by Styx was one of them, Open Arms by Journey was one of the things, but it's funny that you say that because I'm thinking now was the whole thing. Prom was such a big thing. You didn't want to go home. You wanted to, and then you stay up all night and someone had a shore house.
Yeah, some restaurant or diner or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's like it is crazy. That's why you need to bring that back, Jen, because I think also once again the whole thing, if you compare online dating, it is somewhat like AI. You're seeing people, but for this, the whole thing, like you said, why you started Philly events, people do want to meet people. What I noticed is I go to, and you live in Marlton, I go to Chicky and Pete's on Fridays from 4 to 6 because they have dollar beers. So of course I go, there's a dollar beer. But what I noticed is when I was young and we were in the bars, anyone who was older at the bar, you go, I look at that old guy in the bar. But now when you go out, but no, but here, but now it's all old people now. Like there's no one young. And I go, what are the young people doing? And they're not. but they don't communicate.
I think that's what it is because I went out for my birthday and I'm old with my friends in March and one actually both live in DC now, but we all used to live in Philly together. And we went to dinner in Rittenhouse and out in Rittenhouse and everywhere was dead. They were like, thank God we lived here when it was fun. It was so weird because this is Rittenhouse Square, like the main area. Everywhere we went was dead. And then someone sent me an article later that was something like that, that they don't drink. They, I guess maybe do, I don't know. I don't do weed, but whatever, gummies or weed.
It's legal, so a lot of people are doing weed and they're drinking the THC drinks, so they don't really have to drink as many.
Exactly. So I think that's why alcohol sales went down.
So Jen, what do you think of doing it, but more like in a studio that's kind of built up like a atmosphere? Because then you can say, hey, this is what this atmosphere is, and versus trying to do it outside. It'd probably be less expensive anyway. And then what I was thinking is one of them that's looking for love is employed and one of them just got laid off, right? And that's the one being auctioned off, right? So that would be awesome because then if you put it in a studio, then you can also put it on YouTube and
That's a good idea. I'd love to make it happen. And also, like even back then, because of that, what you just said, we would have wherever we did it give us gift cards so we could offer that for their date. So, but
yeah, that'd be awesome.
yeah,
And then you manufacture it like what it was when we were growing up. This
right.
is what a bar was. I mean, we used to go to bars. I mean, Steve and I met in a bar, and when we used to walk into that bar, you couldn't even move. We probably just ended up next to each
Yeah,
other trying to order a drink or something. I don't even know how we.
yeah, you're watching a basketball game. You had a basketball jersey on, and I started talking to him, and his one of his favorite players was Caldwell Jones, who played for the Sixers, and he couldn't believe it, and we just became friends.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And that's how you met your wife in California?
No, I went to college with my wife. I'll tell you that story
Okay.
sometime. I met her years ago, but then
Okay.
we ended up getting together 13 years ago. So, and
Mm.
John was there.
Yeah, at a class reunion, right?
No,
So there was
no,
probably
no. Okay, my
dancing.
wife.
That wasn't it.
No, okay. My wife, her friend married a good friend of mine. And my
Right.
wife's company was looking for a stand-up comedian. And the only person she knew who did comedy was the last time she ever saw me. She saw me perform in 1990. Didn't know what I don't happen. I don't happen to her. She didn't know. We didn't know. So she contacted me, and I got her my friend Joe Matarese, who's been on Letterman, because I was in California, she was in New Jersey. But we hit it off. And one night, I talked to her for like 4 hours, and I finally got the courage up, and I called her. Came back from Volcano happy hour. I had to get home. I turned down. This is how much this girl meant to me. I turned down a free drink, John, and I never turned down any. So I run home because I lived a few blocks from there. I called her and I poured myself a scotch and I got my carriage and I said, let me fly to LA. Flew her to LA. We hit it off. And for a year and a half, I would fly back once a month to see her. And then I moved her to LA. Then we moved back 8 years ago. So it was one of those things out of nowhere. It was just love out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So Jen, so besides I know your mind. What other project is going? Because right now, I mean, we're talking about you know Philly event planning and Jenna communications, and then you bring up this idea about the dating, and so now that's in. So what other ideas are in your head? Because I know you're a serial entrepreneur. I know you make a lot of videos. You make fun videos. Like the hot tub videos. And you do videos with your dog and stuff like that. So what goes on? What is your thought process? Do you have any certain process of coming up with an idea, or is stuff just pop in?
Like pop in, I have so many ideas and I always want to do them all, but it's hard. I mean, I think ideally I'd like to do those dating events. I think that would be great. I think I want to do like a kick-ass, well, many kick-ass events here in Philadelphia. We also want to do a launch party. I told Mark and Bill that we need to do our own and come up with something really cool. And other than that, I would love something like entrepreneurial wise with a product. I haven't figured that out yet because I've kind of always been a product, like both of you are. We're scaling our services, we're people. But I do think that like the true way to success is a product.
I actually agree with that. I agree with, well, first of all, real estate I think is hands down the best, but that's just my opinion, right? Someone else will tell you no, put that same money in the stock market or whatever. But yes, a product, and I worked for an orthodontist when I was very young, just trying to get through college, and he told me that because I was like, wow, orthodontists make a lot of money. He's like, yeah, but I'd rather have something to sell because then I don't have to be here every day. And I was like,
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, I was working on this mosquito project for a while. I have a deck on that because it's a global problem. And I just think, mosquitoes cause Zika and I mean, a million other diseases, malaria, I can go on and on.
Yeah, mosquitoes and sharks. I don't see the reason for them. Like, what's the point of these two things?
So I've
Yeah.
gone to phases with that too, where I'm like, oh, they could be sold in hotels, they could be sold, various countries, they could be sold or used at war. I've had so many different ideas, and then I start and then I stop. But yeah, that one would need some funding.
That's so funny because I was out on my deck one day just getting bitten up, trying to think of ideas, and I was like, "What if I do a dragonfly farm or, something like that? Just anything to get rid of mosquitoes, right?" Yeah, so that's interesting. I didn't even think about nets. I was thinking about like little micro drones that hunt them down, like all kinds of different things.
So this one is interesting. It has a patented, or I mean, I hope the patent's still there, but heartbeat. So there were these two guys who went to war, and they noticed that they always knew who was alive or dead because the mosquitoes would flock to a living body versus a dead body, like if someone was fake being dead. So this machine acts like a heartbeat to attract them and kill them, which is interesting.
Damn
I
mosquitoes.
know. But yeah,
Getting people
yeah,
murdered in war.
I know, I know. I go through phases like that, but I've gotten excited about that one for a while, thinking, "Wow, there's so much money there." Yeah, you know what? I probably need to be, like, streamlined because there's going here, going there, to Steve's point that I'm all over the place.
I think also because I'm the creative type, I have so many different ideas for different stuff. And I think anything, if you're, and being an entrepreneur is creativeness to me. You can see it. I mean, some people look at it, the word entrepreneur has changed a lot. It used to be you think entrepreneur, you think someone like, very innovative. Now it's like, some guy can open a copier, selling copiers out of his backyard. And he says he's an entrepreneur, which is nothing against if you're selling copiers out of your backyard, but you can get them on Best Buy for a lot cheaper, I think. But now I'm thinking, so the word entrepreneur has changed so much, but I think an entrepreneur is has a creative mind because you have to think above the clouds, and that's what creativity does. And you don't have to worry about what the costs are. Have you failed at some stuff, Jen? I mean, because John is we've talked about, every entrepreneur has failed, but they climb right back up.
Right, oh my god, so many ups and downs. I'm still learning, like, you get easier or I guess the beat down gets easier because I'm sure all of us, we've handled so many situations by now, so I mean, I still get new situations, but I think that you have to roll with the ups and downs, but yes, I mean, definitely failed a lot, but then you learn for the next time, I guess, is always the key. Because 'cause I'm definitely still learning and sometimes still fail and all of that good stuff, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a part of it. You have to thick skin, right? Because of all the things that we have to go through, but, yeah, not everyone's gonna like you, or you're gonna make mistakes with your work, and I guess accountability is always the best thing, which I find lacks these days, like, with whether I have interns or younger people. I don't know if you guys notice that, but, I think if you're accountable and work hard and are genuine, I think people will see that. But yeah, no, I've made a lot of mistakes, but then you learn from them, so whether it's like accounting with my QuickBooks or whether it's proposals or contracts, having things missed in my contract, then it's like, okay, I should add that next time. Like those sort of things where you may get screwed by a client. Then you're like, oh, well, I have to add that to my next contract. But I mean, I've learned in everything. It's always like a learning curve, I feel like. I'm sure you
Have you been sued?
not yet. Does that I heard by someone that it doesn't mean you're a real company till you're sued.
Yeah, there's also that stat of lifelong entrepreneurs are typically sued about 7 times, or they're involved in 7 lawsuits. I guess that's the better way to put it, because sometimes maybe they'll sue, right? So,
I wish I
you're doing well because you've been an entrepreneur like 20 years plus,
could
right?
believe that. Can't believe it. Yes, I mean, at the LLC I created in 2007, I didn't use it until 2009. I wasn't fully on my own to 2010, I guess. So, yeah, a long time, almost 20 years or between 15 and 20. 17 years maybe? I don't know. Have to do the math. But yeah,
Yeah, and if you really want some good life lessons, go through a lawsuit and you'll be like, "Wow, that was a really interesting life lesson," because the sleepless nights, the worries, and then being angry, like it just is like this whole roller coaster of emotions that I see my clients go through. And I've been through many lawsuits too, personally, right? So I get it, I get that, and it really just is comes down to money, time and money.
Always, yeah, I've sued clients.
It's not about who's right or wrong.
Yeah,
Time and money. Yeah.
right. The sad part is
Yeah.
because I have sued clients, and I know it's not what you're talking about, but even if you get a judgment, you don't doesn't necessarily mean I get the money. You know that all too well.
Yeah, so you have been through lawsuits,
Yes,
but you've
exactly.
just been
The one
you've been the person, yeah.
ex
Well, that's the other interesting thing too, because a lot of times, especially with what we do, um, the employee sometimes has done something wrong too, right? And then they go, "Yes, I wanna sue them," and I go, "Okay, yeah, we'll countersue, but we wanna use that as leverage, right?" Because and then I have to explain to them it doesn't really matter because even if you get a judgment for this, first of all, you spent all this money to get this judgment, and then you can't collect it. So what was the point? Now you have a very expensive piece of paper that you can, stare at if you want or do whatever you're gonna do with it, right? It doesn't matter. So that's one of the lessons is be judgment proof. And one of the ways to be judgment proof is to be broke, right? But so I'm not saying be broke. I'm just saying don't have assets in your name. So,
Oh, that's so true. I know, that's why when I've talked to collection agents, they'll be like, "Get it personally guaranteed." I'm like, "Oh, that's hard." They're like, "And if they don't do it, don't sign them as a client." But I'm like, "I wouldn't even get them as a client if I made them do that." But that's what collections people will tell me.
well, that's interesting because we're in such a litigious society, right? And what I tell clients is that piece of paper doesn't mean much. All it's doing is telling some third party, whether it be a judge, jury, whoever, what you guys agreed to. It doesn't force that person to be honorable and do anything. So you really need to get into agreements with people that if this was just a handshake deal, you feel like it would work out, right? But
Exactly.
then you want to put it on paper because people forget. Like,
Right.
wait. We said that I get, and I've had that happen where I've been like, wait, you promised me a percentage and a half, right? And then my friend was like, no, it was just 1%. I'm like, I think it was a percent and a half. And then we looked at the original document. I'm like, oh shit, you're right. It was just a percentage. I have no idea where that half percent came from, over the 8 years, since we did that deal. But when the money came and it was time to pay off, in my brain, it was a percent and a half. But in reality, it was only a percent, right?
Mm.
So,
That's why it's
so
good to have things in writing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's why you have to have it in writing, and not that we would have any conflict. He's a very good friend of mine.
right.
It's just for some reason my brain told me I was owed more money, but I wasn't.
No, I understand that. Yes, I understand
Yeah,
of them. A lot of times I
no.
settle.
I know, but Jen, what would be, you've been in business for a long time. You've started businesses. We always want to say, what if someone came to you as a mentor, and you said you spoke at a college, so people probably do come to you as a mentor, especially because you're a successful female entrepreneur. I mean, it's, in the Philadelphia area, there's a lot more now, but years ago there wasn't. I mean, so you guys, you're a trendsetter, you're, someone that you want to talk to. What advice would you give to anyone who came up to you and they wanted to pick your brain about becoming an entrepreneur? What would you impart on them?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it many, many, many times. So you'd have to really love what you do. It has to be your passion because you have to live and breathe it and literally do it day and night. That's how you know you're committed because as we all know, so many entrepreneurs fail so early. I think the study or the stats are like they don't even make it to 3 years in business. So I think you have to, number one, find something you're passionate for. Number two, know that you have to like I don't know, like eat, breathe, sleep, everything. It literally has to be everything if you're gonna make it. You have to have that commitment, the dedication. You have to I think relationships are everything. So meeting as many people as possible because if not them, they may know someone. I think we're all people like we like people. Some people aren't. So that's probably a harder thing for an entrepreneur that might be like an engineer. They might need a sales team to do that. Um, but I think innately it helps if you are a people person because you wanna be able to, you know, garner those relationships and keep in touch, and also I would tell them to, like, keep in touch with people, thank them, like, genuinely be interested, meet with them, I think that means everything to people because they can tell, like I said, if you're authentic and you really care about what they do. Like I always tell them, like, don't be afraid to reach out to these different company owners or whatever they want to do and ask for like a 2 minute meeting on Zoom or in person. And what does that hurt? If they say no, they say no, but someone will say yes. So I always encourage them to at least reach out to people who they want to be like or even if it's a company that they didn't get the job, still ask to talk to the CEO or say it's the CMO, just for a 2-minute conversation on like what they can do in the future or how to get to where they want to be. I mean, if I wasn't doing that my whole career, I don't, whether it was TV or PR, entrepreneurship, or I definitely wouldn't be where I've been. It really comes down to, like, so many people and mentors helping me, so I think it's so important to give back and help them, but so it's dedication, commitment, liking what you do, but then also being, I would say, like, curious is a good word. I'm reaching out, to those that you wanna be like or those that you can learn from because that's the only way you can kinda go up, I think, and then you learn by doing. So I would say like getting an internship or even just shadowing someone on what they want to do. I've said that to some interns, even with all the events coming this summer. Like if it's not me, ask the union, ask the Phillies. It could be any team. To see if they can even shadow just to see what it's like, and maybe next year they can have that job, or next year they can have that internship. So it's kind of shooting for everything and being able to accept no because there's going to be a lot of no's along the way.
All right, John, any final question for Jen?
Uh, I had a longer question, so I won't ask it, but definitely thank you, Jen. I mean, you gave us so many good nuggets, and on the entrepreneurial portion of this, there's a few select things that every entrepreneur says, the hard work, the accountability, the you've got to love it or whatever. So it just tells us that we're on the right track. So I think it makes it easy for people to hear you and go, okay, these are the same three things that everyone's talking. I mean, and you have other stuff too that other people don't talk about, but it's those main 3, 4 things that really uh, is the key to being an entrepreneur and being a good entrepreneur. Like not giving up, and I think that's the fourth one, but thank you so much.
Yeah, sink or swim, I think is the best way. That's how I learned, like, even interning in college or even bartending when I was in college, like, they just threw me behind the bar, didn't teach me, but that was the best way to learn. So sometimes I think just, like, throwing you in the fire, just, like, just go, just do it. Don't have people hold you back and be like, "Oh, you have to wait till you have this funding, or you have to wait till you have this business plan." Like, no, I think you just need to go.
Well, this has been great. Jen, how can people get in touch with you? How, because you have, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have the websites and the communication. Give it all. Tell everyone how to get in touch with you.
I know, I try to answer everyone, but it's hard. So Jennifer Sherlock on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and then my company's Jenna Communications. So jennacommunications.com, or they can email me at jsherlock@jennacommunications.com, and I try to answer all of them. So just contact me at any of those places.
And people, you can get in touch with me, Cooper, coopertalk.net. Go to my website, coopertalk.net. There's 1,068 episodes up there. Also, don't forget to go onto YouTube or all your podcast sites and go Lawsuits and Lessons, man. Go check it out. Subscribe. We'll talk to you. Send a message to me. If you have an idea, if you know a good entrepreneur, we'll try to get them. That's me and John. I get my pool of people. He gets his pool of people. We might get some people that neither of us know. That'd be great. So that's how you get in touch with me. And of course, Facebook, Steve Cooper, Cooper Talk Radio on Facebook. And John, close your show out like you always do, sir.
All right. Well, thank you, Jen. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure meeting you. I've never met a newscaster before, or a former newscaster, so that's always exciting. Cooper, thank you. You always do a great job of keeping the conversation going. Thanks for bringing on a guest that I would have never met. And to everybody out there, be productive.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.